Here we are, and this is my first ever Skype interview. I'm here with the American Patriot. He's currently on tour in the United Kingdom. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing okay, man. Just having a day off and carrying on until I come home. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm figuring out this whole Skype thing, and I figure what a better person to have, someone on the other side of the world, for my first ever NewScott Skype guest.
Yep, there's literally nobody better in the wrestling business than you could get than me.
I think so. I would. How are things going over there?
Good, man. Just keeping busy. There's a lot of shows. We've done England and Wales and England and Wales and just back and forth. We did Scotland. Um, yeah, it's just we got a good little routine going on, and I've got about I don't know, like 10 days of shows left.
That was your first time in Scotland?
First time in Scotland. I was supposed to go last year, but 4 hours into our drive from Wales, the venue canceled the show.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's a huge, huge kick in the balls. It was
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like, but these things happen. But I crossed it off the list last week, so yeah, I can't complain.
Awesome. How was it? Is wrestling big in Scotland? Like,
Well, what it was it was on one of the resorts up there, like the holiday parks.
okay.
So Welsh Wrestling has a contract to provide the entertainment for that resort. So there was a couple hundred people there. I mean, it was just like they weren't necessarily wrestling fans; they were just people on vacation. It's like
Yeah.
if you go to a resort down south and you see the belly dancers, or the guy with the dog jumping through a hoop. I'm the
Right.
dog.
People
So
go to Vegas to see the shows, right? Same idea.
exactly.
Yeah. Nice. What on to, how many shows have you worked over there now?
I don't know, man. A lot. I can't think of the exact amount, but there's been a lot, and there's been a lot of matches, so I'm happy with that. I just wanted to come over and stay busy and do my thing for a little bit.
You generally get more matches over there in the month that you're there this time than you'd get in like a year over here. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate, 100% accurate.
That's pretty crazy when you think about it. Eh?
Yeah,
Like
it's good,
they
man. I
they
like
run
it.
every day. Like I've often said since you've been back, I've only seen you wrestle in person one time, I think, since you've been back at the TCW show there last November.
Yeah,
And you were over in the UK for 3 months last summer. Is that right?
2 months.
2 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And I've said to you, and I've said to countless people since, that I've never seen anyone improve so much in such a short period of time just by going on tour to a different country for 2 months. You came back. You were not even close to being the same wrestler you were as when you left. Do you think like that's accurate? Do you think that yourself, or
You know what, man? I didn't really notice it, but I do notice like when I'm in there now, it's like the right things just happen to make sense. When you're out there, it's like now I have a much better sense of where to be, when to be there, what to do when a situation arises, and that's kind of cool. I definitely noticed it in the last year, really, that kind of picked up, and it's made working a lot easier. But I think like anybody that works in one area for so long, working a lot of the same guys, like they're just going to
right?
stay stagnant. And I'm not one of those people that you say that was good and that's the end of it. I don't like that. I think that's a really cheap way of doing it. It's like you gotta you gotta constantly try to get better because there's no such thing as knowing enough.
What's the different about the style over there compared to here?
Well, it varies a lot, man. There's a lot of different styles in the UK, which is kind of cool. There's like you have what might be called like the indie style, which is like a lot of spots and a lot of this, and like your TNA 2005 X Division style.
Yeah.
And then there's like just like regular town shows where my ideal match to have on the town shows is like a 1995 WWF house show match, like nice action but a lot of crowd stuff. And then there's the holiday park stuff that's like all pantomime where it's like, hey, 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 boo, boo, boo. It's just, those are super fun matches because they're not necessarily wrestling fans, but they're just people that are there to have fun. And you don't really have to do too many moves or anything, but that really gives you a cool way to learn how to interact with people and break it down to the simplest form to make people understand the art that you're doing. As opposed to wrestling fans that might be familiar with some things, you kind of have to start with a clean slate each time and make them care, you know, and that's pretty cool challenge. I like that.
Nice. Tell me some of the guys over there that you enjoy working, or some of the big names in the UK that people from over here might not know of that are really, really good.
Um, okay, one guy who's really good that people back home I don't think know about, which is kind of a shame, is a guy called Stevie Starr. I worked with him a lot last year, wrestled him a lot. And he was in NXT for a little bit as Gavin Reed.
Okay.
He was Roman Reigns' first TV opponent, which is kind of a cool distinction. But that sort of thing just wasn't for him. So he's back here now doing the Welsh wrestling shows almost exclusively. Um, I did a few shows with a guy called Charlie Garrett, who works primarily for All Star Wrestling in England, and he's good. Um, Eddie Ryan, he's actually like in the next room right now, probably here. He's good too. There's a lot of people here that are really good, but are criminally underrated and unknown. But that could change in the next couple of years, or it might not. You know, who knows?
Does the UK scene have a lot of eyes on it as compared to like Maritime wrestling? Does it?
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, there's so many people looking at the UK scene right now. It's not even funny. Like, if you've seen the announcements for the Global Cruiserweight tournament or whatever it is,
Yep.
there's a few UK names, a few UK promotions are the hosts. Like in maritime wrestling, like nobody's getting noticed. Nobody's doing anything except for Brody and Mike, who went to India, and like that's cool. That's awesome. But I mean, like nobody's like coming to maritime wrestling being like, yeah, I gotta get that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you think that's because nobody from Maritime wrestling goes anywhere else? Like Titus went to England a few years ago, but never went back, which is a shame in my opinion. Um, but that's pretty much it. I mean, Suave recently went to the States for a little bit, but other than that, nobody ever goes anywhere. Other than you now been to England twice, right? Do you think
Yeah.
that's the difference?
It's not so much like I think that implies that there's not the talent there, and I would never say that because there's a lot of talent in the Maritimes.
No, no, and that's my point. We have a ton of talent, but they just don't go anywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah, then yeah, I'd say you're right. I mean, how can you get noticed if you can't be seen? You know,
Right.
and it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of reaching out in certain parts of the world, like the New York, Philly, New Jersey, tri-state area. Ontario seems to have a lot of guys getting chances. England has a lot of guys getting chances. Japan, obviously, has a lot of dudes getting chances. But Maritime Canada, it's just like, it doesn't matter apparently. And that's not anybody's fault. You're not gonna, you, excuse me,
That's all right.
you can't expect top scouts in the world to go and just be like, oh, well, you look like you're a guy who could do this. Well, I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass here, but yeah, nobody out of maritime wrestling is really getting noticed because nobody goes anywhere. Mike and Brody are the guys that make the living in the ring. They're the
Right.
kings. That's all it is.
What are your thoughts on what they just accomplished over in India?
That's pretty sweet, man. Like, they had some huge houses. Um, yeah, it's nothing but awesome. That's great. I hope they go back. I hope they enjoy themselves. I know that Brody got sick over there, and I hope he feels better now, and I hope when he goes back, he doesn't get sick like that again because diarrhea is not fun.
Yeah, I think they're both going back in May,
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken. I think Pete said that somewhere recently. Yeah, I don't know where I heard that or he wrote that or something. Yeah, I think they're both going back in May. I think he said that he had to cancel a couple of local dates here because of the big India tour, right?
nice, man. Well,
So,
that's sweet. I mean, that's a guy whose name, I've said this to him in the past, and I think everybody should hear this. He doesn't know the value and the weight that his name still holds in the wrestling world.
yeah, I agree totally. I mean, there's so many people that come in here from other places that know who he is that generally like wouldn't know who like Lincolnstein is or someone of that nature. You know what I mean? Everybody knows who Brody Steele, Kingman, Peter Smith is, right?
Yeah, yeah, man.
He's been to 30 something countries. Like they'd be crazy not to know who he is.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I am surprised with a lot of the lack of knowledge of other places in the wrestling business back home. It's like if I was to ask somebody back home, like who's Tyler Turva or who's Will White or who's Ethan Page or who's Idris Abraham or who's Tracy Williams, I think a lot of people be like, I don't know. It's like I don't think enough people back home are as plugged in to understand like there's so many good wrestlers out there, and good enough is not good enough.
yeah, it's basically unless they're in Ring of Honor or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, nobody knows who anybody is, right?
Well, I'd say even in those promotions, I don't think people back here in the business really know who a lot of those guys are. I bet if I walked into a locker room and said, "Who's Dalton Castle?" I don't know. You know?
Let's see here. Is the way professional wrestling is here in the Maritimes, it's extremely open to all of the fans on social media all of the time. The wrestlers fight with the fans fight with the wrestlers fight with each other.
Yeah.
Is it like that over there?
Uh, I think in some spots it is, but I mean, like, I think those people that do that sort of thing are looked upon the same way the people that do it back home are.
Yeah.
Jackasses.
Yeah.
And I'm
Fair
not
enough.
singling anybody out, but I mean, if a fan's like, that match sucked, it's like, well, whatever. They paid their money. Just let them think that. But if you go and you're like, actually, that match was really good, it's like, well, fuck you. You can say that. You know what I mean? I'm not singling anybody out, but if I see somebody do that, and I'm just like, what a guy. Like, why would you do that?
Cody Diener wrote something yesterday or the day before on Twitter, I think it was, saying something along the lines of attention pro wrestlers. You know whether your match is good or bad. You have years.
Yeah, I
Thank
saw
you.
that.
Like, what do you think of that?
I think he's right. I mean, you can tell if people liked it whether or not they responded to it. If you go out there and you wrestle and it's pure silence and you came back, you're like, perfect. Like, you're clearly delusional.
But I hit my 10 high spots.
Yeah, brother. Business.
Yeah. So, what are you hoping to get out of this time going back over to the UK? Are you just hoping to improve yourself, work more matches, or like make more contacts?
I don't,
All of the above.
I don't know, man. I just had to get out. I had to get over here for a little bit just to sort of prove to myself that I could be brought back. I guess like a lot of weird stuff in my personal life that I was like, I'm just gonna escape all this for a little bit. You know what I mean? So it was a perfect storm of professional and personal circumstances that led me to coming back here this time.
For younger guys from here that are wondering how you got to the United Kingdom, how did it come about to you to get there the first time?
I had to work my ass off for 10 years to prove myself. You know, I didn't just wake up one day and be like, well, going to the UK today, because that's how it works. Like, no. I remember when I was 18 years old, Peter Brody Steele told me, he was like, you are nothing in this business and you will never accomplish anything. And then 9 years later, he recommended me, and then I get booked over here. So it's like, people are like, oh yeah, would you recommend me for a tour? It's like, I don't even know you, brother. Sorry. Like, like I would if I've recommended people, but I mean, there's I don't know. How would I suggest to somebody to get booked over here? Just try. I don't know, man. It's gonna be hard unless you know people. There's a freak chance that I get over here. There's so many people back home that are better than me, but here I am.
You better than you talent wise, you mean?
Yeah, like I mean, like
Do
if
you think they're better than you now, or they were better than you then?
I think we all have different skill sets. Like if you look at me and like a guy like Dazzling Dick Dunne,
Yeah.
look at his moves. Like his moves and athleticism is incredible. He's got really good timing. He's fast. Like he does things that I could never do. Whereas my strong set and my skill set is more like, I guess, like the acting and the personality. Whereas his is more like the physicality and the athleticism. Now I can do a lot of cool stuff, but I'd say that like when I say he's better than me, I mean like if somebody was to stand in a ring with him and be like, do this, this, and this, he could hit it all, and I might struggle.
And I'm gonna use Dick as the example, but this isn't specifically about him. He can go out there and do a half a dozen flips and get the reaction that you can go out there and not do a half a dozen flips. Like, Which is better?
Well, the thing is with him, I think that he can also go out there and not do a half a dozen flips and get the same reaction because he's
Right, and I don't mean Dick in person. I mean like anybody, like
no,
Christopher
no, I know,
Daniels,
I know.
AJ Styles. Like they all do 10,000 flips,
Yeah,
but there's some guys that can go out there and put on a headlock and get the same
yeah.
reaction.
Man, neither is better than the other. I don't. If I was watching it, I don't really like to watch the car crash style, like the million spots, just because I just like it's kind of like watching fireworks. It's really cool and exciting. And fireworks are nice, but at the end of it, it's just watching fireworks. Whereas if you watch like somebody telling a really good story, it's like the Shawshank Redemption. You're emotionally invested. There's a reason to continue watching. So they both have a lot of positive factors about them. If somebody's like, you can never watch fireworks again, I'd be like, well, fuck, I like fireworks. If somebody said you can never watch the Shawshank Redemption, I'd be like, well, I also like that. If the Shawshank Redemption had fireworks in it, it would probably be the greatest story of all time.
Can you imagine Morgan Freeman narrating fireworks? What's your position on the card over in the UK?
Everything.
Everything?
Yeah, I can. Some days it's like literally everything. On the holiday park shows, it's like I do the first match. There's a second match, then we come back for a tag or a battle royal, or Then on other times I open, on other times I'm the main event. It's just you don't just have one spot. I get to do a bit of everything, and that's cool because there's a different psychology for each match on the card. And to be in all of them is it's just a good learning experience, man.
Do you think you'd be where you are wrestling wise now if you hadn't gone to the United Kingdom?
No, I don't know. Where I am wrestling wise now, it's like at home. I work for Red Rock. I work for ACWA whenever that runs. TCW. I mean, there's a lot of places I'd like to wrestle at IHW, and I'd like to wrestle at Vision Pro. Aside from that, there's other stuff going on, and that's okay. But I'd really like to work for those two promotions, but it's just not happening for whatever reason.
What about other places in Canada? You have any interest in like going to Ontario, Quebec, Ontario, Vancouver?
Yeah, I was booked on a tour just like before I came here. I was supposed to do a tour with CWF and Chris Thorne, but about a week or two before, he just canceled because he said the ice roads weren't frozen enough to travel. But then that tour happened. I don't know what happened, and quite frankly, I don't really care. I've got so much stuff going on in my regular life where it's like, what are you going to do with wrestling about this, brother? And it's like, I don't know, maybe, I don't fucking know. I don't care, I'm just here because it's good bookings. It's another international tour, and I can be here. I'm here because I can be here. I had a booking, that was supposed to be like Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, but it just, for some reason, I was canceled. I don't know why. Not really bothered. He's a nice dude. That's it. If I wanted to go somewhere else, I would. I might go to Ontario. I might not. It's just there's so many circumstances right now that I don't have control over. I don't know what to say I want to do.
Would you ever try to get on Tony Candelo's Death Tour? That ran again this past year.
Yeah, probably not. I just don't.
No?
No, I don't really want to. But I mean, I know people are like, well, brother, it's the business, brother. You got to get that experience. And it's like, I have like almost 1,000 matches, and that's not a lot. And I'm not like, William Regal or anything, but it's like, fuck you. Like, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to be bothered by the opinion of somebody who's like, hey, he's not a real professional wrestler because he didn't do this. It's like, well, I wrestle on both sides of the world in 5 countries, so suck it.
If the WWE Performance Center was around when you started, would that have been a route you would have chosen to take?
I don't know. I can't say. I'd like to go there. They've got like 3 rings and a gym.
Yeah, their gym's outstanding.
And they've got like a library. It's like, man, that would be like a dream place to train. Just anywhere, like in rings, in a gym with that library. Like it's a wrestler's dream.
I have that library right there.
Hold on.
What's
Hold
that?
on. I'm gonna swim across the Atlantic.
That's right. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking this time out of your crazy busy tour schedule over there, and I appreciate everything, and I hope the rest of the tour continues to go as successful as it's been going.
Domo.
Too sweet. Hold on. Too sweet.